Haven, Marion Mitzi Wellbeing, Chistomer.
Good evening. Thank you for watching our current affairs update. I'm Leah Hogg, and as usual, you'll see a number on the screen. Do send your comments because we always take note of them. My guest today is the new ambassador to the People's Republic of China, His Excellency Yu Dunhan, and he's with me here in the studio. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for joining us. We're delighted to have you.
Good to be with you, Leah, and good evening, Malta.
How has Malta treated you since your arrival?
It has been wonderful. You know, the moment that I set my foot on this island, I already fall in love with it. The people are very friendly, very kind, very helpful, and wherever I go, I was treated with respect, with understanding. This is a wonderful bilateral relations, and also I'm very much fascinated by its beauty. Valletta, Medina, and Three Sisters City, Maliha. You know, this is wonderful, and I think I'm going to enjoy my entire stay here, and I'm sure I'm going to enjoy.
So it seems to me that you've gone around quite a lot already. You've explored. You've arrived in the middle of the pandemic. How has your mission been functioning during this time?
Well, of course, the pandemic certainly brought some difficulties for the functioning of all our duties, because we have to wear masks, we have to keep social distance. We couldn't have much of a gathering, but at the meantime, I think we have got a lot of support from various departments, ministries of Malta. We could carry on our duties regularly. I meet with my colleagues very frequently.
Can we speak a bit about your background and your previous experience in diplomatic postings before you arrived here? Tell us a bit about them.
Right. I am a career diplomat. I've been in the Foreign Service for over 20 years, and I have a multilateral background. I worked in the Arms Control and Disarmament Department for many years. And then, of course, later I worked in the Communication Department. I had two overseas post before this one. The first one is in Netherlands. The second one is in the United States. I have also traveled to maybe 50 or 60 countries all over the world. So I think, what strikes me, or, what I learned from my career is that the more that I travel, I experience, the more humbled I am. I think I need to listen, I need to learn, I need to understand, I need to, communicate with people.
What about COVID-19? I'd like to speak a bit about it. What are the plans for the vaccination rollout in China?
Right. In China, under the arduous hard work, both from the government and the people, we put the pandemic under control quite some time ago in a relatively short period of time. But the rollout of vaccination is started not that earlier, because we provide a lot of vaccine to other countries that is in need. So, but we are catching up the pace. Currently, we have administered 900 million doses of vaccines in China, with a speed of 20 million doses a day now. So 20 million a day, that's an astonishing number, but that's what we do in China.
That's very high.
Indeed. I think that that involves a lot of organization, planning, well execution. So this is the way that Chinese people are doing things. We are very, we do what we mean. We will carry out our plans accordingly.
You spoke about the vaccination rollout to developing countries in need. Can you tell me a bit more about that?
Indeed, I think from the very early days, China is the philosophy of China. We believe that until everyone is safe, no one is safe. So we believe that we should work together to fight against this pandemic. Chinese President Xi Jinping have stated in very early stage, even during the research stage of the vaccine, he declared that China will make vaccine a public goods, particularly to enhance the affordability and accessibility by developing countries. China has provided 300 million doses of vaccines to other countries. Plus, during the pandemic, we have provided 280 billion masks worldwide, and we have provided 3.4 billion protective suits and 4 billion test kits to the world. So that means for China, we really believe that until, we all win this battle against the pandemic together, no one is safe.
Sure. You've even provided masks to Malta right at the very beginning of the pandemic when there was a big shortage. Mm-hmm. What are your views on social distancing and mask wearing?
Right. I think, to fight against the pandemic, China and Malta, we stand together. We help each other. I think that's what we do in times of difficulty. One thing to fight against the pandemic, I believe, is we have to trust the science, right? So I believe that wearing mask and keep social distance is scientific matters. We need to follow that. I have always followed those, rules and regulations and these requirements from the authorities.
Malta's relationship with China started many years ago in 1972, I believe. Mm-hmm. What, as a new ambassador here, what function do you think the embassy will play to develop this solid foundation even further?
Mm-hmm. Leah, you're exactly right. Next year is going to mark the 50th anniversary of our bilateral tie. This relationship has been withstood the test of time and become even stronger. Despite the ever-changing international landscape, I think the bilateral relations has remained strong and vigor in the past 50 years. When I arrived here, when I met with people, many people are talking about the dry dock, the breakwater China assisted Malta to build in earlier days of our bilateral tie. And then for Chinese people, we always remember the help that we got from Malta friends, particularly in 2011, when Chinese government withdrew 5,000 Chinese compatriots from Libya, and we got a lot of assistance from Malta, because the transit was via Malta. So we always bear in mind. To me, I think we need to move this relation forward. Politically, we need to have more frequent visits of high-level officials and to cement our political trust. Economically, we signed MOU in 2018 on the Belt and Road Initiative, which mapping out a blueprint for our further cooperation. And for people-to-people side, we have a very close people-to-people tie. There is a Chinese culture center in Valletta. It's lovely, so I would recommend our friends to go there to visit. We need to enhance our communications in youth, in culture, in sports, in various areas. Of course, tourism. Mm-hmm. Malta is a beautiful island, as I mentioned, it's a beautiful country. So I'm sure after the pandemic, there will be more Chinese people who will come to Malta, to see its beauty. We need also stand together in international arenas. For instance, yesterday there is a review a review of the measures taken by Malta government to the anti-money laundering by the Financial Action Task Force. China stands very firmly with Malta because we believe that China has achieved a lot, and the purpose of this task is not to punish someone or penalize someone, but rather to help to increase the abilities, the capability of that country. So we stand firmly together with Malta.
Mm-hmm. You mentioned a bit earlier the Chinese party, People's Party, mm-hmm. That have been around for 100 years mm-hmm. now. Mm-hmm. Do you believe, in your opinion, the misconceptions are an accurate representation?
Well, yes. I think, there are, I've been working so many years overseas. I do see that there is a lot of misconceptions or even stereotype images about the Communist Party. Because, I understand when we are talking about communist or Communist Party, people will immediately, reminiscent of the Cold War concept or the Soviet Union communist. But I can tell you that it's totally different. It's totally different. Because as a party, the Communist Party could lead 1.4 billion people to achieve two miracles in the past, at least, past 40 years. The first one is to the long-term stability over the past 40 years. The second one is the long-term growth of economy. So I think that is why I believe it's because the Communist Party has a lot of characteristics, missions, beliefs, which I believe makes it the most advanced party in the world. Just give you name a few. For instance, the Chinese Communist Party always put the people's interest, on the first place, and it stick true to its original aspiration to seek happiness for its people and to seek rejuvenation for its nation. And secondly, the Chinese Communist Party always seek truth from facts. Like anyone else, everyone make mistakes, and the Communist Party also make mistakes. But the thing is, what is important is, we face the mistakes with courage, and we keep improving ourselves. That way, those mistakes will become a learning experience and assets, for us to further development. And the Chinese Communist Party is also very much a peace-loving party. Since the founding of the People's Republic of China, China has never invaded any other country in the world. And we do not fight a war on other country, and we do not engage in regime change. We do not sanction others unless the others sanction us. We need to, take countermeasures in this regard. So it's a peace-loving country, and we believe that we engage in peaceful development, and we believe that stability and peace is the most precious thing in the world.
One final question about COVID-19. As we emerge out of restrictions all around the world, how do you think governments can work together so that this is not repeated in the future?
Right. I think that's a very important question, because certainly we got a lot of lessons from this pandemic. To me, I think the first one is, to fight against the pandemic, we need to always put people on the first place, or people's lives on the first place, not the interest of a certain party or, self-interest of certain politicians, because that's what exactly the meaning of the government. And secondly, I believe that we need to keep solidarity, because only by unite together we could win against this pandemic. If we divided, it could only lead to confrontation. And thirdly, I believe that we need to trust science. We need to listen to the scientists how to deal with this pandemic. We should avoid stigmatizing or engaging in the spreading of conspiracy theories, because it won't help. It simply create more mistrust and judgment. And maybe lastly, I believe that the rich countries should certainly, because there is certainly a immunity gap between rich and the poor. So the rich countries need to reach out to the poor countries, to the lower income countries, to help them, because unless everyone is safe, the world is not a safe place.
Yes.
But at the meantime, I think we need also to improve the global governance on public health security, to have the United Nations and WHO to play an even bigger role, in the public health area.
Thank you very much, Ambassador. We're just taking a short break to look at the ambassador's diplomatic career, and we'll be with you very shortly. Thank you for being with us. I am with Ambassador Yu Duhan from the People's Republic of China. We carry on from where we left, and that was a lovely glimpse into your diplomatic career. Congratulate you.
Thank you so much.
I'd like to speak about China's economy. It's only the second largest economy after the US. How was this achieved over the last 4 decades?
Well, indeed, if you look back, 40 years ago, in 1980, the GDP of China's GDP is only 0.12 trillion US dollars. That's 7% of the US GDP. And by 2000, our GDP reached 1.2 trillion US dollars. That's roughly 12% of US GDP. And then last year, another 20 years, last year in 2020, our GDP reached 14 trillion US dollars. That's roughly 70% of US GDP. So I think, of course, there are a lot of secrets that why we achieve such success. But I think the first one is we have a strong leadership. That is the leadership of the Communist Party, because the party always give us guidance, the way that we should go. It plan very well. We have 5-year plan, even much longer plan, and we stick to our plan. And I think the second secret is we have Chinese people. In my opinion, is the most diligent, most hardworking people, most smart people in the world. They work very hard.
Very disciplined, I think.
Very disciplined, indeed, and innovative as well. So they made these miracles, and they makes history. The third one is I believe that China has always stick to the concept of development. I think that's very important, because we do not derived from this main goal. This is the target. We believe that if there is any problem that arises in China, we could resolve it through further development. We focus on development full-heartedly during the past 40 years. We do not, send our troops overseas to other countries. We do not, bomb other countries. We do not try to, have arms race with other countries. We focus on development. Another thing is, I think China's secret is we open up to the world. We learn from others. We do not close our door for our development, because we believe that, the human's civilization, the excellence from human's development, we could benefit from all those good experiences, best practices. So we learn from the others, and we become a better, ourselves.
Mm-hmm. Given the current climate, the world is recovering from the economy point of view, but China's economy is growing faster. Do you see this as a future trend?
Right. That being said, I need to add one sentence, that is, China is still the largest developing country in the world, because, for instance, per capita currently, China's per capita GDP is only maybe 1/3 of Malta. So we are still very much a developing country. There is a big gap between the developed area and the underdeveloped area. So there is still a long way to go. Then for Chinese economy, certainly there are a lot of positive projections, both from international organizations like the World Bank, the IMF, and also you could see there are a lot of enthusiastic from entrepreneurs from all over the world. They would like to invest in China. That means they really have a good projection about China's development. One thing is for sure, because we have 1.4 billion, it's a big market. 1.4 billion people is a huge market. For middle class, we have like 500 million people now. So I believe that China is going to continue to be the main driver for the world economy, because in the past more than 10 years, we have contributed to 30% of the world economy growth.
I'd like to quote Angela Merkel at this week's G7 summit, and she said that the issue of climate change cannot be solved without China. What are your comments on that?
Well, I think that's exactly right. Not only climate change, there are so many issues. Global issues calls for global solutions. I don't think they could be resolved by a single country or by a group of countries, because we need to face it together. And in climate change, China has, playing a very much leading role in the past few years. President Xi Jinping announced that China is going to peak its carbon dioxide emissions by 2030 and to achieve carbon neutrality by 2060. So between them, only 30 years. But if you look at most of the developed countries, it took them 60 years to finish this goal. But for China, a developing country, but I think we are committed to, to materialize this goal. We are very serious. For instance, China now has 30% of the installed capacity of renewable energy, the world total. And then for the electric vehicle, China has also half of the world's total electric vehicles. So that means that, we have, try very hard to achieve our goal. Although it's a very high bar, but we are resolute to reach there.
What, in your opinion, is genuine multilateralism?
Well, indeed, that's a good question. Because nowadays, many people are supporting multilateralism. Instead, in the past, there are people, rather, choose unilateralism. And now people are seeing that they support multilateralism. But what is the true or genuine multilateralism? I think the first thing is we need to have a set of rules or, laws that are agreed upon by all members, not dictated by one single country or a group of countries. That is the essence of multilateralism. So all those rules and regulations, after upon by all those countries, all the people need to follow. The second is, I believe that the genuine multilateralism needs to be open and inclusive, but rather than exclusive and close, because small circles is not multilateralism. It's the it's rather discriminatory in nature. And thirdly, I believe that the true multilateralism need to be engaged in cooperation and a dialogue rather than confrontation or conflict. Because we all believe that only through political means we could resolve, various kind of challenges that we are facing with.
Mm-hmm. Can we talk about the current issues with Hong Kong and Xinjiang? In your opinion, perhaps a quick update of the measures that China is taking to safeguard public interest?
Right. First, Leah, you know that both Hong Kong and Xinjiang are part of China. So Hong Kong issue and the Xinjiang issue are China's domestic affairs. Number two, the reason that why these two issues being played up is not because of the issue itself, but rather it's been politicized. It's been used as two excuses to contain China. On Xinjiang issue, many people are talking about Xinjiang, but they never been to Xinjiang. They don't know. They rely all these sources on few scholars. And Xinjiang, is one of China's autonomous regions. The size of Xinjiang is UK plus Germany plus France plus Italy plus Portugal altogether. So it's a huge area. It's bordered with Afghanistan. In the past many years, it's been penetrated, influenced by those extreme thoughts. So if no measure is taken, it's going to become very terrible. Many terrorist attacks happened in the past years. So on Xinjiang issue is nothing about religion or human rights or ethnic groups, but rather it's about the fight against terrorists. And there's no genocide, there's no forced labor. Just to give you, it's all fabricated. Just to give you a few examples. In the past 40 years, the Uyghur population in Xinjiang area, from 5 million to increase to more than 11 million. So it's more than doubled. And then the lifespan of average people from 30 years to 72 years in the past 60 years. And the GDP of that region increased 200 times. So people live a much better life now. So there's, no so-called genocide. And now Hong Kong, there's a very bizarre phenomenon in Hong Kong. Because in any other countries, the legislature or administrator, or a government official will be loyal to their government. But in Hong Kong, rather contrary. there are a lot of legislators and officials, senior officials in the government who are not loyal to Hong Kong or China. They are loyal to foreign countries. They publicly, openly said that Hong Kong should separate from China. So in any other country, they won't allow to happen. Why? It's because, after Hong Kong returned to China under the one country, two system, and there are a lot of loopholes in the law. So that's why the central government in the past conducted a review amendment of those laws and the regulations to make sure that, the stability of Hong Kong, the one country and two system will be maintained. I think that's, the overall situation. I think no one in the world would like would like to have this one country, two system, to be successful, because that's the creation by the Chinese government itself.
Thank you very much for your explanation, Ambassador. To close for today, would you share with our viewers in Malta a message of peace and stability?
Right. The message I would like to share is, this is a diversified world. And each country is unique. Each country has its own culture, history, and tradition. So each country is entitled to find its own path, to seek its own happiness. It is totally okay that we have differences. But it is, the common aspiration for peace, stability, and prosperity that transcends us, that unites us. So it is okay to have differences, but we need to agree to our disagreement. At the meantime, we need to cooperate where we could cooperate on the basis of understanding, mutual understanding, mutual respect, and a win-win. That way, we could have a much better world.
I wish you the very best of luck in Malta. Thank you very much for coming here, Ambassador.
Thank you, dear. Thank you.
I have been today with Ambassador Yu Duhai from the People's Republic of China. He's our new ambassador to Malta. I thank you, as always, for watching. I'll see you next week at the same time. I wish you a good evening.
Meta s-servizz personalizzat u importanti għal klijenti tiegħek, ifisser li huwa importanti għalik ukoll. Saħħaħ in-negozju tiegħek b'internet li tista' tafda fih u servizz ta' customer care li jixraq lilek. Melita Business, inspired by people like you.
Immune Plus, vitamina C, vitamina D, zinc u biotin għall-immune system tiegħek.